Hi everyone, Nessa here. Today we're going to be making cranberry orange scones, one of my favorites. I hope you'll join me. Alright, so first step, we need to assemble our ingredients. That's what's going to make this all come together quickly and effortlessly. So today we've got 2 cups of flour. I have a combination of all-purpose and then I-corn flour. You can use whole wheat if you've got whole wheat, or if you've just got white flour, just use white flour. Use what you got. I just want to add a little bit more nutrients into our scone today. We're going to need 2 sticks of butter. You're going to need some orange zest. I have dried orange zest. You can use fresh if you've got it, or you could use lemon zest if you've got that too. We've got some baking powder, baking soda, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of sugar. Our wet ingredients are going to be some sour cream. You can use buttermilk, whole milk, half and half. I don't recommend using skim milk. You won't get the right crumb texture. So you want to use something with a little bit more fat in it, whole milk. You could even use heavy whipping cream if that's what you've got. And then we've got 1.5 cups of our dried craisins. You can substitute with dried apricots. You could substitute with dried blueberries or even cherries if you've got those. Or you could do a little bit of half and half, add some nuts to this if you'd like. We're not going to be doing that today. We're just going to stick with the craisins. So let's get started. All right, first step, let's get started on assembling our dry ingredients. We're going to put our sugar in here, our baking powder, baking soda, and our salt. Then I'm using my dried orange zest. We need about the equivalent of 2 teaspoons. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And I picked this up at Amazon. I make sure I always have this in my pantry. It's inexpensive. Oranges aren't always in season, and sometimes even when they are, they're still pretty expensive in the store. So I just keep this on hand at all times, and then I'm ready to make whatever I want to with orange zest. It's a great pantry staple in our house. I would highly recommend getting some of this or some lemon zest, just so you have it on hand and you're ready for your ingredients. We're just going to stir these ingredients up, make sure they're well combined. Make sure that baking powder and baking soda is throughout the flour here. I'm going to show you how I do my butter for scones. Some people will freeze their butter and grate it into a box using a box grater. I'm not going to do that. I don't know if it's because I'm a little lazy and don't want to wash the grater, or I don't want to grate it. But I'm going to show you how I do mine. Take a butter knife, and I make we're going to cut all the way down, and I make little tiny slices. This also makes it so that when we go to put it into our flour mixture, half the work's already done for us. So we don't have to get too fastidious about making sure we've got all those tiny little pebbles that we want, of course, in this. But by doing this step, it just makes it a little bit faster. And if you've got arthritis in your hands at all, and you don't have a pastry blender, or even if you do, this helps cut out some of that work. And then I take it and I cut it in half again this direction. So we're going to get tiny little cubes by the time we're done. By the way, if I didn't mention it, this butter is cold right out of the fridge. Some people will freeze it first. I'm not going to get that fussy. So then next I'm going to cut it again this direction. And what we just did is we created tiny little cubes that are going to go into our flour mixture, and they're going to break up. See, look how little those are. And now most of our work is done for us. We don't have to worry about that part. So we're going to go ahead and finish up chopping this up. Okay, and then we're going to get this into our bowl and get our hands a little floured here. And you can do this by hand, or you can do this using a pastry blender. I have a pastry blender, so I'm going to be using that. Hang on 1 minute. Okay, I've got my pastry blender. We're just going to cut this butter right into this flour mixture. And you do want to make sure that your flour, or that your butter is cold. It's going to create steam and air pockets, and that's what's going to give you that light, crummy texture that you want out of your scone. Okay, we have used our pastry blender. We've got our butter all nice and crumbled in there. Kind of looks like coarse sand. All right, you can see that we've got some nice crumbles in there. That butter's been worked into there. There's still some lumps from the butter, and then that's what we want to see. We want to see that coarse sand looking lumps. Okay, so next step, we're going to go in with our wet ingredients. We've got some sour cream here. If you don't have sour cream, you can use some Greek yogurt. If you don't got Greek yogurt and you do have some yogurt in the house, use your vanilla yogurt. Next, we're going to add our buttermilk. And like I said before, you can use whole milk. You can use half and half, or heavy whipping cream if you've got that. You may have to adjust your liquid just a little bit if you use the heavy cream. We're going to use our homemade buttermilk. Okay. And in that goes. And we are going to use our spatula to bring this together. Okay, I've got a little bit of flour here on my work surface. We're going to turn this dough out onto this flour, and we're going to create a disc. We want to be nice and tender with this. We're just going to fold over some nice light little layers. Make sure you keep that well floured. We're going to press it out, and then we're going to fold it over. And then we're going to fold this side over, and then we're going to press it out again. This is going to help create really high, flaky, beautiful layers of scone. We're going to fold it over again, press it out. Make sure we've got plenty of flour, and then we're going to fold it over one more time. Okay, we've got our little disc here, and we're going to take it and we're going to put it back into our bowl with a little bit of flour on there so it doesn't stick. And then we're going to take this disc and we're going to put it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. We want to let that butter get nice and cold again, and those ingredients get cold, because that's what's going to give us that beautiful lift in our scone, and that tender, flaky, that butter's going to react, and when it hits in the heat of the oven, that steam inside of there is going to make it puff up really big and glorious, and you're going to get that lovely flaky texture that we want out of our scone. These scones are so wonderful. Even the next day, they're still got this crunchy goodness on the outsides of them. When you bite into them, it's tender and soft, and you've got that punch of orange zest coming through, and then the outsides are still crispy the next day. These are delicious. I sure hope you guys will make these with me. I have my cranberries right here. Mine are getting a little bit on the drier side. I've had them in my pantry for a while, so it's definitely time to get them used up. If yours are getting older and dried out, before you add these to your scone mixture, you want to make sure that you break these up. You don't want big, huge lumps of your cranberries, so just give them a little bit of a toss if they're on the older side, the drier side, and make sure that you've got them broken up into individual pieces the best that you can. So scones are a really great way to keep some good flavors going in the kitchen. You know, right now everybody's struggling with their grocery budgets. They're getting tighter and tighter. I know mine is. And it's important that we learn how to diversify what we've got in our pantry and make it work for us. You know, a little bit of flour, a little bit of sugar, it doesn't take a whole bunch, and you can turn some pantry staples, some dried fruit, maybe plums, apricots, whatever you got laying around, or you can even skip the fruit if you don't have that. You can put just nuts in there if you want to, or no nuts. But it's nice to add a little bit of different things into our menu rotations. Something that's like a treat. You know, these are great because you can take them to work. You don't have to stop off at Starbucks and get your morning pastry. You can bring it to work with you. Okay, we've got our scone disc here, nice and chilled. We're going to lay down some fresh flour. We're going to take this out of the bowl here, and if you've got one of these handy dandy bench scrapers, it sure makes a big difference in this. Alright, so we've got our dough here. We're going to just press this out just a little bit. You might need to put a little bit of flour on your hands. No need for a rolling pin. We're going to take our dried cranberries, and it's going to look like a lot. It's going to look like it's overstuffed. Don't worry about it. It'll all come together. We've got 1.5 cups of dried cranberries here. Okay. Then we're going to take our cranberries and we're going to press those into our dough. And we're going to take our bench scraper, or you could just use your hand and fold it over, just like that. And if you need a little bit more flour, if you're starting to stick, just put a little bit on there, not too much. And then we're going to fold our dough in again. Press it out. And then we're going to fold it one more time. Okay. So now our cranberries are nice and encased into our dough. Make sure we've got plenty of flour for this portion. And then we're going to press this out into a rectangle. You can do this into a round disc if you'd like. It's up to you, depending on what, how big or how small you want your scones to be. So we're going to do a nice rectangle. And we want these to be about 1 inch, 1.5 inches thick. And just keep pressing. Okay. See, that bench scraper really makes a difference. They're inexpensive. You can pick one up at Amazon, and I'll link this one in the description box below, and you can go to my Amazon affiliate link and get one there. I think I paid $6 or $8 for this one. Okay, so here we've got our rectangle. We've got about 12 inches or so by, looks like maybe 5 inches, and we're going to cut right down the middle using our pastry pastry cutter here, our bench scraper, or you could use a knife. So we're going to go right down the middle. Pressing down, okay. Then we're going to go at an angle. We're going to go one way, then we're going to flip and go this way. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us triangles, okay? And we're going to do that on both sides. So we're going to go through here, we're going to just cut. Then we're going to flip our pastry cutter, our blender here. This is my bench scraper. Then we're going to cut again and see it's created nice triangles. Then we're going to flip it and we're going to create another triangle. Then we're going to flip it and go back and forth. And we're just going to go back and forth all the way down these sides. And we're creating nice, beautiful triangles like that. So we're going to do that again on the other side. These don't need to be perfect either. We're just going to eat them. Okay. And there we have it. We have our triangles. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 nice, beautiful scones. Now we're going to put these in an oven at 425 degrees. We're going to bake these for 18 to 25. We're going to check these at 18 minutes is what we're going to do. I've got my stoneware baking sheet here. You can line this with parchment paper if you want to. I find there's enough butter in this dough here that we don't need to line this, but you can if you want to. I do, however, recommend that you use a baking sheet that has a lip on it. There is so much butter in here. If you don't, you risk that butter as it's cooking. You risk it going into the bottom of your oven and creating a smoky mess. And ask me how I know. Okay, so let's get these on the sheet. They do not need to be touching. Okay, they're onto our baking sheet, and we will see you back here in about 18 minutes. While our scones are in the oven, we're going to make a glaze to go over the top of these. It's just going to push those right over the edge to be something spectacular. You don't have to make this. It's just really good. If you've got some orange juice, great. If you don't worry about that. You can use milk or water. You will need some vanilla. And if you've got some orange extract, all the better. If you don't have this, don't worry about it. Just use your vanilla. I am going to sift this powdered sugar. We want about a cup, unless you like a lot of glaze. I just want to put just a little bit on there, just for a little hint of extra sweetness, a little extra goodness. My husband is eyeballing me, telling me he wants me to make more glaze, so maybe I'll go a little bit heavier today. But normally I just use 1 cup of powdered sugar, just enough to just put a little tiny light drizzle on each scone. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sift this powdered sugar. We don't want any lumps, any of those weird little chunks of white powdered sugar making our glaze look ugly. We want to go the extra mile here and just run it through the sieve real quick. There you have it. We have that nice and sifted. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add about a half a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to eyeball this. You can measure it if you'd like. I'm not concerned about getting a little too much in there. We're going to add about a half a teaspoon of our orange extract. If you don't have this, it's okay. Use a little bit more vanilla. And then we're going to add in about, I don't know, enough orange juice, probably about a tablespoon, just to make this so that this glaze will come together. And like I said, you could use water here or milk if you'd like to. I just want that orange punch to go with our cranberry flavor that we've got in there, and that orange zest that we've already put in there. I want this to be a little bit of a thicker glaze. I want this to stick to the top of our scone after it's cooled so that it's a nice like frosting. It smells so good. Okay, it's nice and thick. I'm going to add just a titch more orange juice because I need that to be able to drizzle off of the spoon a little bit better to coat our scones. Okay, that's looking really good. It's going to drizzle really nicely onto our scones. Let's see, that's nice and pourable, so we're going to be able to go for a nice drizzle. Okay, we've got a nice drizzle going on here. Now all we have to do is wait for our scones to come out. When they come out of the oven, we're going to go ahead and let them rest on the baking sheet and cool down just a little bit. And then we're going to take our glaze that we've prepared and just drizzle it all over those glorious, delicious, buttery scones. Okay, these have been sitting for just a little bit to cool down. We're going to go ahead and drizzle our orange glaze all over these. Oh, this smells so good. You could get fancy if you want to. I just want to get it on there so I can eat them. My husband said he wanted more glaze on his. Well, he sure is getting it. There's going to be a lot of glaze on here. Okay, we're going to dig in, see how these look. Oh, that smells so good. I hope you guys will make these. That orange really comes through. Oh, tender, flaky. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can show you that. Look how tender and flaky, gorgeous those look. Look at that gorgeous crumb. Oh, these look good. This is so good. You can taste the butter in there, the orange, that little bit of acorn flour gave it a little bit of a nuttier flavor in there instead of just the all white flour. It's got a little bit of nuttiness to it. It's crispy on the outside. Those cranberries plumped up. They're not dry anymore, like how I was telling you earlier, how they were getting a little bit on the older side. And to break them up if they're dry, you would have never known that they were a little bit dry in the bag. They're plump, they're flavorful. Oh my God. This is such an awesome, easy breakfast. You can make these for your Easter breakfast. You can make these for a special occasion, or you can make these for an everyday treat. Package these up. Look how many there are. I mean, this is great. You can package these up, one for each day of the week, and take them to work, and or pop them in the kids' lunchbox, and they've got a delicious treat. Instead of making muffins, you could make some scones. These are so simple, so easy, so versatile. You could do so many other flavors than cranberry. You could jazz them up any way you want to. I hope you guys will give this a shot. Thanks for watching.